So, hello everyone, and welcome back to STW Sports. I'm host Samuel Wright, joined by Huddersfield Town fan Oliver Eaton. Well, Oliver, welcome back. Been a while since we had you on the show, and right now, Huddersfield Town, 30 games into the season, doing much better than what every Huddersfield Town, basically, even the most optimistic Huddersfield Town fan would have predicted at the start. In the playoffs, only actually 5 points off the automatics. How do you think the season's gone so far?
I think you hit the nail on the head. No one expected us to be here. I don't think the players or the Carlos expected to be here, but you know, it is what it is. We've now gone 11 games unbeaten. We're fifth place. We're all sudden looking up the table. We're not having it. Well, I think it's safe to say we might be safe from relegation this year. But to be a Town fan and be part of this run, you know, it's really good, and it very reminiscent of 2017 at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's been 5 years since that, fairy tale season it was described in 2017, really, obviously winning the playoff final. Do you think there's a lot of differences between those two teams, Oliver? I mean, obviously 2017, you got there on a minus goal difference, of course, let's not forget, as the only teams to ever do that. Do you think there's a difference between the two teams, this one and the one from 5 years ago?
It's a strange one, because if you had asked me in terms of the kind of levels of both teams, I think the 2017 team was a lot better, a much better level as they are as this season. I think I really don't want to discredit our results or discredit our position, but I think our position is a result of those extra games played. Obviously, with all the COVID postponements, that has helped us out. But equally, you have to win the games what you have played extra. But I think it's maybe a result of not as good competition, I think, this season. I think it's quite evident to show that in terms of the ability level of a lot of the teams, it's not as strong as it has been. You know, that hence why you're seeing your Fulham, running away with it. I feel it's kind of it's a strange season. You've got your 2-3 teams at the top, and then it's kind of like best of the rest. But we're riding that wave, and in the end of the day, if it leads to playoffs or promotion, it's official. It isn't just a booby prize, shall we say? It's just it's very good to be up here, but how long it lasts, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously the 2-0 win against Derby this week as well, a really good result for Huddersfield. I mean, obviously, yes, Derby, of course, look at the table, are down near the bottom, but they've actually been in really good form, Derby, making a real good fight of it at the bottom, and especially in their circumstances. Again, like you say, 11 unbeaten now, Oliver. It's really going well, and Huddersfield seem to always be finding a way at the moment to get a result.
Yeah, and I think it's a sign of a good team when you do have poor performances but still get results. I think arguably we should be a lot higher in the table in terms of how the games have gone. There's been a lot of losing leads. It's happened in this 11-game streak. We've had, I think, 2 or 3 games where we've been 1-0 up and gone on to drop points because of sitting back. And that was a big criticism of Carlos's side coming into this game at Derby. And we did expect it to be a very similar game, but I think, as always, when a player gets sent off for the opposite team within the first 3 minutes, it changes the game. All the game plans are shoved out the window, and it just became our game to lose at that point. And thankfully, despite us struggling to find the back of the net for what felt like forever, we got the deadlock, and that just opened Derby up then.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we had a few of an internet issue then, a little bit of a lag in the internet.
How far did you get?
No, it's all right. Yeah, got you right until right at the end, basically. I think you might were just about to stop when I when I was about to ask the next question. That question is the game against Barnsley in the FA Cup this weekend. I mean, obviously, FA Cup isn't either of their team's priority. Of course, Huddersfield's is promotion and Barnsley's is somehow trying to survive despite the very difficult situation they are in. It's a big game, though, still. I mean, you get to the 5th round of the Cup, it's obviously very good. And, of course, in the last round, you knocked out Premier League opposition, Burnley. A cup run, though, surely that would be great for Huddersfield, and the playoffs, that would surely go down as a great season.
Oh, I think just finishing mid-table is a good season, not being in a relegation fight. I would like to see a cup run. I think, realistically, you expect us to be playing alternative players, rotating a lot of players, but then you would just hope that Barnsley do as well. As you said, they're not looking good. They're below a heavily point deducted Derby, which, it's really not a good record if you're behind a team that's been deducted 21 points. I would like to see is, I think this game is a winnable game, certainly for Town. We drew 1-1 in a similar scenario to what I was speaking about earlier, where we went 1-0 up and sat back at the Oakwell. So it's going to be good local derby between us and the South Yorkshire side. I don't know though. You said there we'll be looking to promotion. I don't know if that actually is. I mean, obviously it's a natural goal with you being up there, but I don't think we have any pressure of that. No one's expecting us to be up there. We're kind of enjoying the moment, but I don't see there being a pressure to go in the playoffs, because I think it's just a bonus and it's something you develop. Let's say come to April and we're still in this position. That's when you can add that pressure on for kind of the team we are this season. But so I would, with that said, I think, a cup run would be nice. Again, it's going to be rotated teams. I wouldn't like to go out at this stage knowing it's Barnsley who we're facing, but no, hopefully a positive result, continue this unbeaten streak, and we'll move on to the next game.
Yeah, and obviously the next league game is, of course, for Preston away next week on Wednesday. Preston, of course, a team who are flying quite high at the moment. They've had a few mixed results since Ryan Lowe come in, but they've still got a little bit of a manager bounce, looking a much better outfit than they were earlier on in the season. Tough away game, but one that you might fancy your chances in.
I hate playing Preston, and especially Preston away. It's one of our bogey teams for away games. I think, I can't quote me on this, but it's probably 50s when we last won there. So it's one of them fixtures. So this is a big test for us. And I'll be happy with a draw at this point. But Preston, as you said, that they've definitely improved side since when we faced them. I think in the 4th game of the season, right at the beginning, it was our first home win of the season. And I remember, I wasn't actually at that game, but I remember from reports of it that it was just really 2 poor sides that day. And it was, I think, a fluke own goal or something, or it was a fluky 1-0 win for us, what kind of kickstarted our season, because we just had the Sheffield United away win just before that, or just after that, actually. So it kickstarted our season, and that got us up. But now, as you said, new manager bounce for them. It's going to be a different game. I would like to see us there and compete. And Preston at their ground always seem to be a very strong strength. They're always playing physical. That's the word I want to say. The physical side, Preston. So if we can overcome that, I think we could stand a good chance. I would take a point right now, though.
Yeah, and obviously looking at a relegation rival in West Brom, recently sacked their manager, Valérien Ismaël. Obviously, it was always going to be difficult for Ismaël to repeat what he did at Barnsley. I mean, there was a lot of expectation with him at West Brom, maybe what he didn't have at Barnsley. They had a good start to the season, the Baggies, but they've really not done well since. The style of football has been highly criticised. They've only scored 34 goals this season. When you look at the talented players they have, it's quite a low number, really, especially the fact there's 34 goals in 29 games. Kind of a worry really from West Brom, but appointment-wise, Steve Bruce looking like he might come in. What are your thoughts on the situation there?
Firstly, on West Brom, I think that start of the season boost, I think, was the result of what I was on about earlier, where it was kind of the difference in quality between some of the relegated sides and the, your typical stronger championship sides. I think they benefited from that at the beginning. But then, obviously, whether it's the manager, what caused that play style to change, but I don't know if you could say they got found out, or they're just kind of a bit more fatigue were kicking in. But obviously it's not worked for him, and he's now gone. And West Brom, I think, because they had such a good start, they've just kept up in the game. So it's not game over for them now, not game over for them yet. But I think it was the right decision if they wanted to try and stop this decline, what they found themselves in, before it was too late. And 45 points, just hanging on to a playoff place. There's still, in the end of the day, 8 points off automatics at this point of the season. It's certainly possible, especially in the Championship. Steve Bruce, though, he's got Premier League experience and he's got big experience down in this division. It's either go to work or it's not. He's one of them players, managers who's he's go to sort out what's not working, and he will establish a not necessarily exciting football, but it was established football which will work and get points. And hopefully, for him, and as you said about the team, that means scoring goals, defending a bit better. So I think Steve Bruce, I mean, it's not the most exciting, but I think it will be probably more effective rather than going for, a young foreign manager who doesn't know the league too well.
Yeah, and looking at the relegation battle, Oliver, I mean, you'll be, of course, relieved Huddersfield aren't down there this season, as what was most people's predictions at the start. Cardiff 9 points clear of relegation now. Cardiff are starting to pull away really under Steve Morrison. So you look at the last of Reading, Peterborough, Derby, and Barnsley. You got to say, really, 4 teams. Derby are only 7 points away, amazingly, really. But Reading, of course, been such a poor form recently. Reading. Which 3 out of them 4 are you thinking right now, though? Are you predicted to go get the drop?
Well, funnily, until last week, I didn't actually realise Cardiff were down there. It shows how much I've been watching the bottom of the table for once. I think, listen, you got to assume with how the form has been and the lack of improvement, Barnsley's going to be, I think, down there. I think they're looking pretty doomed at the moment, and the point total, their tally's not looking good. Derby, they're an interesting one. They're the one what you feel could power themselves out of it, because they've picked up 8 wins, 12 draws. Realistically, they would be out the relegation without without that 21 points. It's just whether they could build that momentum from this point, because that red card at the beginning of our game didn't help them, but they were probably one of the worst sides we've seen in terms of ability. But obviously, but I think Derby, what happens? But Peterborough, I'm going to say Barnsley, Peterborough, and Cardiff to go down.
Wow, well, Cardiff, I mean, obviously they've got a very inexperienced manager in charge, and obviously Reading are a bit of a fall as well. Don't really think Veljko Paunovic might not be there much longer. Top of the table now, though, Oliver, obviously the surprise package this season, Blackburn. Blackburn have been, very good this season. Obviously, Ben Brereton Diaz been a big part of that. Fulham, obviously, they're scarily good in this division. 74 goals already, which is quite frightening. Bournemouth, Queen's Park Rangers, yourselves, Huddersfield, of course, West Brom, Middlesbrough and Forest just outside of the playoffs. Right now, which teams are you thinking are looking the most promising to gain promotion?
Well, obviously, you have to say Fulham. I think they obviously showed through their goal scoring they've got that better quality. They've got the form, and they've obviously got the winning formula to score a lot of goals. And it's no surprise they're there at the top. Just skipping over Blackburn, but to Bournemouth, I think you expect them to kind of be in that position again with quality. They've got it's good to see Solanke finally overcoming that kind of poor form he had in the Premier League period, and now finally, should we say, finding his level, getting that goal scoring form. Bournemouth, you expect to be in there, top 3. I think if they don't come second, I think it would be disappointing. I said it on the Championship podcast. With them losing Adam Armstrong and losing some of them key players, I thought they would go to really fall down the table and not be as threatening. But it seems this had the opposite effect. They've found alternative goal scorers. They obviously getting the wins and doing it in good style. I mean, against us, I think it was a 1-1 draw, so it was a good result for us, and we beat them in the reverse fixture. But Blackburn, interesting. It's quite interesting to see them up there. It's a team you've not seen around the playoffs at all recently. I mean, obviously they had their League One trip within the last 5 years, so it's exciting to see them up there. But I think it's all eyes on them whether they can maintain that form. Bournemouth, they're biting at their ankles. They go to be there, overtaking whenever. And then quickly on QPR, another surprise packet. In fact, QPR, Huddersfield, even your Luton in 9th, were all surprise packages, and that's what's making this a very interesting campaign. West Brom, you expect them to improve, and be top 4, I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you touch on it there. I mean, looking at the managers in that area as well, obviously you got the likes of Wilder, of course, at Middlesbrough, and then Cooper at Forest. Of course, they've really elevated up the table, maybe because of them 2 appointments and their experience in doing well in this division. I just want to ask as well, Oliver, about the transfer window in the Championship. Some big deals were done. What were your overall thoughts on the transfer window, though, in January? Do you feel like any Championship clubs that had a very good window?
It's another one of these where I early kind of took notice of Huddersfield in terms of transfer window. So talking about Huddersfield, I thought the biggest thing for us was not losing Lewis O'Brien. We didn't lose him. He had a release clause. He could have easily gone. We kept hold to him, and that's massive for us because that's that creative midfielder, obviously creating a lot of chances. And you didn't expect like Sobra Thomas to be going because he's only had these 6 months of fame, if you get what I mean at this point. But as a transfer window for Huddersfield, I think it went really well. We waited right until deadline day to bring in 3 players, and all very good. Backup. Did he have a period of...
Oh, sorry, I think we've got a few internet issues again here, guys. My apologies.
Sorry, I lost you there again.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I'm back now. Sorry, yeah, I said I think we had a few internet issues. So you were asking me a question when it cut off?
Yes, I was on about, did Blackman have a spell at Bristol City a couple of years ago, or am I just imagining that? The goalkeeper, Blackman.
I think he did have a spell at Bristol City. I think he had it at Rotherham as well. I think he might have been at Rotherham as well.
Yes, yeah. So he's obviously got Championship experience. So as a backup goalkeeper, that's really what we needed. And then obviously we got the young Chelsea player in. He's currently injured. I can't remember his name. Tino Adjornery or something like that. And then obviously Carol Eiting coming back was completely out of the blue. And it's massive for us because he was really creative when he had a loan spell with us last year. So for us to gain him on a free transfer, he already showed he made a difference yesterday when he came on at half time. But overall, I'm, as a Huddersfield fan, very, very happy with our transfer window.
Yeah, I was want to ask well, Oliver. I did actually the commentary on your game against Stoke City a couple of Friday nights ago now. Karoma, I was surprised that was his first goal since September, his goal in that game. I was quite surprised to hear that stat, really. Him, Danny Ward, and I mean, obviously Thomas on the wing as well. What do you make of that attack? Do you think Huddersfield's attack is very threatening, or do you think they've got a very balanced team this season?
But it's obviously that momentum and that togetherness in the team. That way you got that buzz around the team. And I think from that, that's allowing those creative channels from O'Brien to Sobra Thomas and then Karama to really create a lot of chances. And it really helps for once that we've got a couple of strikers that do know how to use the head or do know how to finish when needed. Obviously, Danny Ward definitely been a very surprise package for us. We know he's been experienced in the Championship. He's had God knows how many years in the Championship. But actually, from last season, he was a very injury-prone player. I don't even know if he got on the score sheet last season. So then to come this season, and he's proven everyone wrong. He got a hat-trick in that game against Reading. And a cool stat from that game, he was the first Town player to score a hat-trick since he scored one about 8 years ago. And then Jordan Rhodes finally got his first goal as well. So hopefully that is the first of many, or certainly first of a consistent form for him. So I think our attack is definitely threatening. Sobra Thomas, of course, his stats, don't lie. He's got them assist record. Harry Toffolo, his assists have been creeping up since we've turned over the year. So we've got a very happy team. And I think with a happy team, that creates that more free-flowing attacking football. And that is the result of us scoring a lot more goals than normal.
Yeah, and obviously I was going to ask about the Championship Golden Boot, but there's probably no point because Mitrovic is running away with that at the moment. 28 goals. He's going to break Tony's record, surely, provided he does stay fit to the end of the season. Even Ben Brereton Diaz could break Tony's record if he keeps up his goal scoring form. So in terms of, like players in the Championship, though, player of the season for you, Oliver, any one stand out?
I think when you have a player like Mitrovic who's scored that many goals and he's obviously on track to beat the record, he's obviously going to be in line, I think, for that player of the season kind of award. Brenton Diaz is another great example. I think he's another big reason why Blackburn are up in that picture. And I think both of them have both been very key players for both their sides. Looking into Huddersfield, you will probably point out Sobra Thomas as being one. He's definitely been probably one of the biggest breakout stars of this season. And, it's thankfully for him, as a result of that, he's got into the Wales team. So, yeah, that's very promising. Whether Sobra Thomas will be in line for play, Brenton Diaz are probably two standouts. I want to throw in Philip Billing into that as well, Bournemouth. He's showed that attacking threat. He's got goals. And he's just continued his development since he left Huddersfield. He's continued that, being a really threatening player. And as Bournemouth, again, I'm seeing them as like the third place team, definitely top three. I think those three players will probably be in a running for it, surely.
Yeah, one of my final questions for you, Oliver, as well, is about Carlos Corberán. I mean, obviously, he was appointed in 2020 in the summer. Interesting one, really. Obviously, with Corberán, he's, last season, not really great. Had a lot of injuries to deal with after Christmas, though, and they kind of slid the table, Huddersfield. And your form in the second half of last season was really poor. But Corberán this season, no credit where it's due to him. After that 5-1 defeat to Fulham in the second game of the season and failing to beat a depleted Derby on the opening day, it was looking, like he might struggle a little bit there, maybe. But no, in fairness to Huddersfield, they've done really well. And do you think Corberán deserves a lot of credit for where you are in the table?
I think he deserves a lot more credit than Town fans are giving him. I think there's a lot. And when we had our little blip around November, October, we were all there, guns blazing, Carlos out. And we just dropped down to 8th at that point. So I think he deserves a lot more credit coming from a position where he doesn't have any budget to spend on players. I think all our players have been either loans or free transfers this season. So that's fantastic in itself that we're up to 5th in the table. As you said, that start of the season, it was very bit warning signs, warning bells. But then we played Preston. We got that very flukish 2-1 win against Sheffield United right at the beginning. And that really kickstarted the season. And I think linking up to what I was saying earlier about kind of that team momentum, I think that Terrier spirit, as we'll call it, that has fed into it. And it's kind of been a positive cycle of obviously us gathering results and leading to this form, what we're in now. I still think, though, he is heavily criticised. And, for some of the tactics he plays, and as you said, you was commentating on the Stoke game, you saw at half-time, before first half, completely all over Stoke, should have been 2-3-0 up. Second half, sat back, and that has happened 4 or 5 times this season. And from what I was speaking to some people yesterday who have spoken to players, apparently the players are told to sit back, or they're told to fall into this certain formation, what means they are sitting back. So that is still the criticism from myself, as well as some Town fans, that we'll give to Carlos. But in the end of the day, we're 5th place. We're 11 games unbeaten. So again, credit where it's due to him. And if he takes us up, then it would be strange putting him up in the same lights as David Wagner. But, again, credit where it's due. He's having a brilliant season with us.
Yep, and final question for you, Oliver. If you're to make a prediction right now on where you think Huddersfield will finish in the league, where are you saying?
Right. When you're in a streak, as we are, 11 games, it has to end at some point. But equally, when a streak continues, that is where I think the pressure builds on what will happen when we do get defeated. and that could lead to a lot more of a negative impact. So let's say we lose to Preston, will that lead to another lose in the game after that? Another lose. With that in mind, and with the games in hand, what other teams around us have, I think we will probably, and I'm not going to say slip away, because I don't think it'll be the case of falling right down, but I think, let's say all the teams around us do win their games in hand, we necessarily don't get the result we want against your Bournemouths, your Fulhams. I think realistically, we should be looking probably around 10th, 9th, which is still a fantastic season, and I'll happily take right now. It would be interesting if we are, let's say in April, looking at a playoff places still. I mean, yeah, it's just fantastic, and I can't wait for that situation to happen. But I'm going to say 10th as my prediction from this point.
Excellent. Well, that is all the questions for you, Oliver, and that's all we've got time for this evening anyway on STW Sports. Thank you very much for joining me, Oliver. A pleasure as always. And yes, we'll see how the rest of the season plays out for the Terriers. And thank you very much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you soon.